Today we're going to be talking about the M50 Mark II, a camera that is potentially going to be announced very, very soon. And also we're going to talk about the Sony A7S being the world's first camera with CF Express Type A cards. All that information coming right up. Can you hear that? No echo. We just finished installing 2500 acoustic panel, 3 inches tall, the pyramids all over the warehouse, and you can see them right there. See those vertical lines right there? You can see them right there. Also, we have them all over the ceiling, and we did this for you guys because a lot of you guys trashed me because of my earlier videos had terrible sound. So right now we should have good sound moving forward. But anyway, all right, so let's talk about the M50 Mark I first. So it is a camera that has a 24.1 megapixel sensor. It does 4K up to 24 frames per second. It does full HD at 120 frames per second. It has the flip out screen with a touch screen, dual pixel autofocus, a 2.7 EVF. So it's a pretty decent camera. It's not a camera what I will consider a prosumer or even professional camera. It's more of a consumer type of camera, you know, travel camera, maybe do some YouTube videos like this one. But this camera has a problem, I think, that could have enabled this camera to be actually a great camera for a lot of things. And it is the fact that this camera doesn't have IBIS. Now, I mentioned this because I think the Mark II is going to tackle this particular issue, and it's going to make this camera a very popular camera. Now, a lot of us think that this camera probably shouldn't even exist anymore, and Canon should actually release an RF APS-C camera, which is actually another rumor that is coming up. But I think that Canon is doing something here to kind of like prepare themselves for that stage. So what I think that this camera is going to have a 24.1 megapixel sensor. We may see some better, maybe 4K video recording capability, probably 4K up to 30p. And this one may be the camera that is going to have embodied image stabilization. Because remember, for the very first time, Canon just introduced IBIS on the R5 and the R6, and making IBIS available in APS-C camera makes a lot of sense. Now, one of the things that you gotta keep in mind is that Canon has a lot of APS-C cameras. If this camera actually has IBIS, this could actually be a pretty decent vlogging camera, especially if they introduce some new lenses. But chances are that Canon is not going to reinvent the wheel with this camera. We may have some improvement. Potentially, we're gonna have the same sensor. Now, the highlight of this camera is going to be the image stabilization. There is not much more to actually do to this camera or change. And if they do this, they're gonna sell a lot of units, and especially if they can keep the price of the camera very, very similar. Now let's talk about the exciting news, and this one, it is the Sony A7S rumored to actually have the new CF Express card Type A. Now, when I first heard this, I'm like, oh my God, now we have to deal with a new card reader, a new type of media. But then when I was reading more about this card, I realized that it actually fits in the same SD card slot. So this is gonna be pretty unique. I don't know how this is going to work because the card seems to be a little bit shorter than an SD card. So I don't know how you're gonna poke that in there. Probably they're gonna redesign the SD card slot and do something where you can actually stick the finger and remove the card. Now this is actually pretty interesting because it is going to allow you to use the most versatile media out there, SD cards. So for most basic things, you're gonna be able to record onto 2 SD cards, but potentially for those high-end features that we've heard that the Sony A7S is going to have, you may be required to have one of these cards. Now at the time of this video, I tried to Google this card and I couldn't find it anywhere. So chances are that Sony may announce that card when they announce also the A7S, or maybe that car is going to be ready, a few months after the camera gets released. But it is actually pretty interesting news because this gives us a little bit of a hint of Sony intentions to keep the body small, yet to give us, a lot of features. Now, a couple of the things that we do know is that the Type C is capable of 4,000 megabytes per second, the Type B is capable of 2 megabytes per second, and the Type A is capable of 1,000 megabytes per second. So now the Type A is not the fastest CF Express, but it is faster than SD card, and chances are that this card is going to enable the Sony A7S to do incredible things. So I think the Sony A7S is going to be an incredible camera. They seem to actually be much more realistic without over-promising features, and one of the things that we've heard is that this camera is not going to overheat and it's not going to have a recording time. This is going to be alone enough information for a lot of people to secure that pre-order and stay with Sony, or even migrate from Canon, because right now there are a lot of people not happy with that R5 and R6, and no one actually got it yet. But anyway, so let me know, what do you think? Are you excited about the M50 Mark II? Are you excited about the A7S? Let me know in the comments. And as always, guys, I keep you informed, so make sure to stay tuned, subscribe to the channel for more content like this one, and until then, see you in the next one.